very excited to talk to HITLAB's own Laurent van Lerberghe, the chairman of the Breakthrough Alliance Europe, and someone who has a deep and passionate interest not only about women's health, but also mental health. The recently retired chief strategy officer from Sanofi, which is one of the world's largest life science companies, who also carry a tremendous passion for improving healthcare through life sciences and improved medicines for people all over the world, including the world's lowest income 1 billion people in 100 countries. So Laurent, great to have you on the program today. How are you?
I'm very good. Thanks for having me in the program.
Absolutely. No, great to hear you. Great to see you. So again, for the audience who doesn't know you, tell everyone a little bit about your background.
Yes, so I've been 25 years in healthcare, actually starting in consulting, but then moved after 7 years to Abbott and went around the world in Europe, US, and Asia. Actually, managed businesses, grew businesses, and being in emerging market, there was a lot of startups actually all across that were fantastic. It was actually a great time in emerging market, and then I moved to Sanofi for 8 years and a half, the last 3 years as a chief strategy officer. And last adventure, let's say the most recent, is moving to be an investor in digital health. In Europe, it's a bit of a crossroads for digital health, and I thought that having been in 4 corners of the world and pharma, I could bring something.
No, and absolutely, and again, that's so exciting. You're absolutely right. It's digital health is at a crossroads across the world, and we just saw the HITLAB study, the FDA study that the HITLAB led last year, receive approval for the Curio digital therapeutics model, which is a women's health tech and postpartum depression digital therapeutic app that we saw just tremendous results from our own study of N equals 147. So just if you could talk a little bit more about the landscape in Europe and the digital health landscape specifically, and where you see the growth for digital health, particularly in women's health.
Yeah, I'll focus on women's health. As you know, I could be speaking about the whole landscape, but here I'll try to do a bit of a zoom. It's very interesting. Maybe 5-7 years ago, maybe it was a dream. Maybe people say, let's do something. Here now we get actually quite a large number actually of startups who reach this stage that I would call scale up, where they actually have some solutions ready. They start selling. They are ready for going beyond just one country. Everybody's always asking me, Europe, is it just one country? Can you really scale up, or you need to go to US? Actually, Europe is ready for that. If I go through some examples, you got actually companies who are focusing on what I would call life cycle, or managing maybe life situations, helping actually women with their sanitary protection. Very interesting actually technology, helping them manage that, anticipate maybe some issues. You got actually startups in the diagnostic world, smart medical testing, endometriosis, fertility. So really covering the spectrum of what would say life situation, I would call it. And then there is the whole monitoring, fertility monitoring, hormone monitoring that you see developing. And then there is the whole topic of treatment enablers. Maybe I would call it digital therapeutics that you also see developing. And there are actually quite a number. I was checking just before this call. It's really not just a few or a handful that it was 7 years ago, but you get to the hundreds that you can really look at.
That's exactly right, and that's where we're seeing this kind of growth. And certainly when you see specifics, can you give us some specific case studies and examples of startups that are leveraging these sorts of technologies to improve healthcare delivery for women in Europe?
Yeah, definitely. I'll take 2 examples I like a lot. I mean, there's one example that is ZWIG, re-diagnosis of endometriosis. For those of you who know about endometriosis, you take up to 9 years to basically diagnose it. It's just unbelievable because you start by all possible other diagnoses before getting there. It's a big problem because it doesn't really get addressed in terms of managing the pain. Sometimes it's helping women go to getting a child, giving birth, which is managed in a certain way. And ZWIG has been able to develop a diagnostic tool using AI with a large number of biomarkers, and then getting to a very precise and specific diagnosis. So that's one, and they're actually expanding in a number of territories, getting actually approval, and actually soon looking to expand into the US. So that's one. I would mention another one that is called Elixir Health, really focusing on medically assisted procreation, IVF. Actually, it's quite amazing that you get about 30% of these that succeed, which means 70% who fail. And even those who succeed, actually, the process is very long, very difficult, very unpredictable. And these startups is really taking the data and wants to make much more data-driven decisions to basically level the field up for every couple, hopefully shorten the time to success and offer a more equal chance all across versus depending on finding this or that expert or being this or that lucky.
That's precisely right. And that really is the way it works. And just looking ahead, Laurent, what kind of developments and trends do you anticipate happening in the digital health space in Europe, particularly, again, along the lines of women's health tech?
Yeah, I'll mention a few things. I mean, and I'll take a few figures that people need to have in mind. First is more funding to women founders. I was checking the figures of the World Economic Forum. Worldwide, actually, only 2% of the money goes to women founders in startups. We can argue if it's 35 or 45, but 2%, God, I mean, there is something to do. In my portfolio, I mean, I had the luxury to start actually about 2 years ago, so I could set it up with the right mix, and I'm between 40 and 60, obviously, depending on the a moment where you invest a bit more or less. And frankly, you get in the space, also about 50% of women founders startups, and you can find some very good ones. So yes, we need to go way further up from the 2%. So that's the first trend. I think the second trend is it's not just about women-specific disease, but it's also about women health in general disease. And there you see actually a lot more balancing also of obviously the share of women in clinical trial. And you see also a balancing into having a more like personalized approach to care, like you heard in the previous session. So this one definitely a trend. And then three, really actually a number of these women-specific disease now with technology, that's the beauty of it, will be a lot better addressed, and probably breaking some compromise we had to live with in the last 50 years and more.
Fantastic. And really appreciate your time today, Laurent. Know how busy you are, and looking forward to seeing you in New York City in 2 weeks at the New York City Health Innovation Week.
Yes, I'll come for sure. Excited.
Wonderful. All right. Cheers. Take care.
Yeah, goodbye.